Hey guys, welcome to Our Mixed Media Moods. DeeDee here, and Jen Engel and I host this monthly challenge where we challenge ourselves with these gorgeous mood boards to create a mixed media project, full tutorial for you on our YouTube channels. So here's the project that I'm making. It's called Captured, and it's a collage-based piece that gets all of its inspiration from our mood board and some new supplies that UmWowStudio has. So it's really great. I'm glad to have you. We are a little bit late for May this month, and that is my fault, not Jen's. So sorry about that. I've been trying some new things with UmWowStudio, and some of my time just got pretty full there. But I'm glad to be here. I'm using this vintage paper ephemera pack from UmWowStudio. I have been traveling and teaching the last couple years, and I collect some ephemera pieces everywhere I go. And so I'm really excited about it, and I just love ephemera and vintage things. I love to use them in collage, and so I decided to offer these up as a tool, a place for you to get some really unique things in your paper ephemera. So there are a couple normal things like some dictionary texts and things like that, but I found some awesome algebra books or just math books in general, lots of numbers and words about numbers. I have a vintage German, like old German Bible. And I know that does bother some people, but rest assured, when I found it, it was just the binding was disintegrating and it was falling apart. So it's not like a beautiful, pristine book that I've pulled apart. And we are utilizing and giving this some more like another life, a whole nother life. It's not just being thrown away. I also did save the cover. I plan to turn that into a journal in the future. There's also some railroad cards and just some different things in here, some almanac pages and some railroad forms and just really, really cool, beautiful stuff. So check that out. And I am doing a dry collage today. And by that, I mean I'm not putting down a wet medium and soaking my paper and then sealing it with another wet medium. I'm only using a Uhu Glue Stick, and I'm collaging onto some Joggles cardstock. So they have these really amazingly convenient index card, like this is an oversized index card size, or it might be actually be one of the art journal ones, but I'll have the specific links below. And this watercolor paper is really nice and sturdy and stands up to a lot of stuff that I throw at it. And then I am now going to make my collage, and notice that I did leave some white spaces very specifically. That's sort of a key in my collage. That leads to some awesome design aspects later. So it helps me make choices when it comes to my mark making further down the road. And I use my palette knife to scrape some gesso onto my collage. I do want to say real quick, I'm sorry about those. There's a couple flashes in here. I can't decide if they're coming from a movie that I have playing in the background, which I've never had a problem with before, or if it's like a little bit of a surge in the electricity. I'm not sure. So sorry about that. I can't seem to get them to go away in this video, but I'll be sure to keep a better eye out for them when I'm filming my next one. So as I mentioned, I'm using my heat tool and some gesso and a palette knife to make my collage more cohesive. So when I scrape gesso on a collage like this, it only goes onto the textured areas where there's a lot of 3D texture, and so it helps the pieces not look so glued down and patchworky. It helps it be a little more cohesive. Then I'm using a Derwent graphic pencil. I'm using a 6H pencil or I just did use that, to sketch in a horizon line, which is coming from that glorious blue on blue image that's in our mood board. And it's like sort of a teal with a dark teal at the top. And I really love horizon lines. And so I sketched in a horizon line with that pencil. And I chose this pencil because it's a really, really hard pencil, which means the line that it makes is really, really soft, really light. And then it will blend into my whole piece and I won't see it at the end. Then I'm using golden fluid acrylic and a Grumbacher paintbrush to make some bold stripes. And that comes from the clock image, that black on white. And then I also really wanted to sort of try this scritchy, scratchy sgraffito effect. And that's where you like carve into paint to reveal the surface below. And I didn't love how it looked. So whatever's happening here between my tool and the paper underneath and the paint on top, I'm sort of just getting these kind of like chunky little marks that I'm not loving. And so it's really easy to just cover them up. And then I find that now I have this black on black mark, this texture in my stripes, and I really love it. So check that out in the close-up shots because it's totally new to me. It's totally an accident and I love it, and I can't wait to utilize that mark a lot more in the future. And then I'm going to come in with my Stabilo and a paintbrush and just wet that up and really work on that horizon line a little bit. And then also I am pulling in the gray grunginess from that, from the mood board, that bottom right hand corner. Delicious. I love how Stabilo reacts with paper. And then I got out some DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics. So I have a pretty large selection of these fluid acrylics, and I am not a paint specific type of person. I do have a couple favorites for certain things, but in this case, I love the colors that these fluid acrylics come in, and I have a large selection. They come in these really convenient, small, affordable bottles, and then I'm able to play around with different colors and different color combos with being out without having too much of an investment in a wide range of colors because they're in small, convenient, affordable bottles. So I have probably 40 to 50 different colors of these fluid acrylics. And in this case, I'm using a teal, I believe it's a cobalt blue, and a cerulean blue. Now, if I'm off on those names, don't worry because I will have them in the supply list below if you're interested. I love how they really play together. And then I always add extra water to my acrylics. I love it. These are already fluids, so when I add more water to them, they just get this sort of natural acrylic wash feel to them where they just lay over a really like smooth blanket of color. And then I'm using my paintbrush to sort of feather that out so it's a bit more of a gradient and the color is concentrated around the edge. You'll also notice that my darker blues are at the top and my more teals are at the bottom so that there's a great contrast between that teal blue and those bold black and white stripes at the bottom. And in this case, when I use the word white, I am referring to the vintage tones of the text paper that makes up the collage in the background. And I do have my handy dandy heat gun. I don't go anywhere without this thing. I create a lot of art. I love it. And I don't always have 100% like dedicated time to let things air dry. And so I got my heat gun. I'm drying between layers. And then I decided that I needed a little more grunge or a little more contrast in my stripes with my Stabilo, especially in my horizon line. So between those stripes and that blue where the blue starts. So I beefed that up a little with my Stabilo pencil again. And then now I mentioned earlier that I left some white spaces in my collage and I didn't think about where I left them. I just didn't cover everything up. And so when it comes to collage, I try really hard not to spend too much time on it. And I sort of go with my favorites and like glue some strips down and glue some chunks of page down, but then I leave white space. And so in this case, I'm filling in the white space with my Stabilo pencil and some marks. What I've done is I've really sharpened my Stabilo pencil so it's nice and pointy, and then I've dipped it in water. And that creates this really dark kind of unspecific mark because it's wet and it has a tiny little bit of movement to it, but I kept my pencil sharp so it's not a huge mark. And then I just fill in the voids, the white spaces that I can see where there's no paper. And I love it. I love it so much. And it, again, it's sort of bringing in that black and white from the clock image. And then I thought I needed a bit more gesso. And I'm going to be completely honest. I think I got a little bit heavy-handed with it on this layer. But I do love the end result of the project. And sometimes you just got to keep going. Also, in some cases, I could have wiped the gesso away, but I wouldn't do that here because I very specifically have raw fibrous paper on the surface, and I've been using a Stabilo, which is a water-soluble product. So if I were to use like a baby wipe or a wet wipe or wet cloth on this to wipe away some of that gesso, I would have ended up with a soggy mess. Now, one of the, like my last sort of step for this project is I'm utilizing some fibers that I pull out of a new ribbon at UmWowStudio. It's 100% cotton ribbon that comes in a 3-yard length. Right now we have it in natural, and we have it in a pink dye, and we have it in like a vintagey tea dye. And so these, I am hand dyeing these ribbons, and I'm loving adding them. I'm loving eco dyeing and hand dyeing and learning new things, and I love offering really unique supplies. So these fibers that are in the background, that are like, that I'm working on right now here in the video, I've pulled them from the natural 100% cotton ribbon. So it's a weave, and you can just pull these threads out, and then I just pile them up and create these beautiful little bundles. And I got the idea because in the mood board there's a gorgeous blue and teal, and it's some water and some trees, and then there's like some misty kind of foggy clouds rolling through, and that's what this reminded me of. So then I took a silkworm casing and I cut it down to size, and then kind of distressed it and pulled it apart so it wasn't so round. And then I have this gorgeous green yarn. So I am using yarn here instead of DMC floss. I do usually gravitate towards DMC or some type of embroidery floss, but I wanted something a bit chunkier and to really stand out against the blue. I really wanted to mimic that lime green and blue that's coming from the trees in the water, and then also like the cactus that's in that little pot from the mood board. So it's really, really fun, and I'm stitching the inside of that silk casing, and I'm stitching it to the fibers, and then I'm going to adhere it to my collage with gel medium. I could have stitched it directly to the collage, and that is a viable option. However, trying to get my needle through that many layers totally would have wrecked my hands, and I was not prepared for that today. So I'm just stitching it all together, tying it off, and then I'll glue it down with some gel medium. And I love the contrast. I love the distressed, grungy background, and then I love this pop of fiber and color that's just like sort of sitting here hanging out. And I am using golden gel medium, and it's just regular gel medium, but it's going to soak into those fibers that are now stitched together, and it's going to adhere really well to that card. All right. So that's it. Here's my project. Thank you so much for always being here. Again, sorry about being late for this video, but I hope you really enjoyed it. Leave me some comments below. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you think of the overall piece. Don't forget to go see Jen, you guys. I'll link her below. There are supply lists. There's all kinds of things in the information below. So let me know if you do have any questions. And please subscribe. I always love new subscribers. I love my old subscribers. Let me know if you want to see anything specific coming up in the next few weeks. And give me a thumbs up, like my video. Again, don't forget to see Jen. And I'll see you guys around. Always glad to be here.